You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now, investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh, I threw you off because I did the commercial.
Well, I did get thrown off. Sean's voice was so soothing. Our partner from Bank of Blue Valley, it just was like that commercial's quick.
It is quick. That's a good commercial, if you ask me. And I know a thing or two about commercials. How are you, Scott?
Doing good. Doing good. How are you doing? How's the new home?
It's good. I got my fancy office chair today, so I'm sitting up higher. I still need my wallpaper back here and make it real fancy, but it's good. It's a lot of work to move.
Yeah, we've been lucky to have a lot of companies that help in the design space, which you can say furniture. But it's really important for your work environment, and so it's interesting how being comfortable and perked up gets you going.
Right. Nope. I'm ready to go. My chair got here like an hour before the show, so I'm going to test it out. So if I fall, guys, just kidding. That's not going to happen. But hey, I want to talk about a couple quick things. Bank of Blue Valley had a huge. They don't know we're going to say this on the show, but I'm going to brag about them a little bit. They actually were named one of Casey's 5 strongest large banks of 2020 yesterday by the Business Journal. That is huge.
People have no idea. They oftentimes, I won't say their names, but certain banks downtown on the plaza. But, Bank of Blue Valley is just a wonderful organization that really touches all parts of business in the community throughout the entire metropolitan area, not just certain businesses. They're there to help every business. And top 5. No big deal, Wendy Reynolds. No big deal.
No big deal. She's going to come on the show later. No big deal.
No.
She is.
How does a top 5 bank come on the show every week?
We're pretty popular, Scott. We're pretty popular.
She does respond to everything. You will text her or she'll text you. And I'm just like, how does she manage hundreds of people and just stay on top of things? So we promise we're not saying that this is the sponsor of the show. They literally do respond to everything, which sometimes when a service provider and a partner, it's what you want, right?
Right. No, she responds to everything. I emailed her on something personal the other day, and within like 3 seconds, she responded. I was like, that is so kind. Hey, they have one event too I want to talk about, and then we're going to get to our panel. This is next week, the Optimizing Your AP Strategy webinar. It's April 13th, so next Tuesday, right before our show. So you can watch this webinar and then come watch our show. You could just head over to Bank of Blue Valley's website and sign up for this right there. So I wanted to make sure we got that in there because that is next Tuesday, right before the show.
I'm always amazed at how you're able to plug everything in and then insert comments and then run the show. It's like, you can do this blindfolded and twice on Sundays.
I'm a producer. It's my new calling in life. I didn't know that till this pandemic. Hey, if you are here watching the show, please tell us, are you watching on Facebook? Are you watching on LinkedIn? And who are you excited to see? We have an amazing, phenomenal panel today. I am so excited about this. I do not want to pull out the panel until we give somebody very special a shout out. Let's give Jessica Powell a shout out. She actually came to me. Thank you, Jessica. If you don't know Jessica, connect with Jessica. She actually came to me during my move and said, Erin, I would love to help you find guests for the show. I love the show so much. Could I reach out to some of my contacts? So today we have 2 of her contacts on here, and throughout we've got the show booked for a couple months now. So thank you, Jessica, so much for looking out for us. We really, really appreciate it. So, all right, sir, are you ready? You're doing music, right?
Ooh, yeah. You ready?
I can't wait to see what you're going to play.
It's going to be pretty nuts, and let's go.
Okay.
Ready, go.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. So our first guest today is Miss CaRessa, and we did practice her name. I made Scott practice her name. We're gonna stick with ladies first, and our second guest today is Miss Tiffany. Hi! Hey, Tiffany. Our third guest is Mr. Jeff. And last but certainly not least, he's here for the show every week, but this time we let him on this side of the camera, but a great supporter, Mr. Nick. Hi, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll tell you what, we've already got John watching. So hi, John. Thank you for saying hi.
Hey, John.
Remember, if you're watching, put it here and we'll pull it up. And that's how you become a great networker is you got to show up. So, all right. Well, let's get started. Scott, what do you think?
Well, I always say that we're like Anchorman, and when you put something on the teleprompter, we'll read it. But we have two rules: no cursing and no reading the comments, because that's what Aaron does. So I'll let you roll with the first question, and then I will add the color commentary.
Okay, I love it. All right, let's get started. CaRessa, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and get to meet everybody. So as you said, my name's CaRessa Hutchinson. You did a fabulous job of pronouncing that correctly. Thank you. I am a nurse and a founder and the CEO of ModRN Health. So how I got here, a little bit complicated story, but let's just say I grew up on a farm. My nursing career was spent in Wichita. Had been a nurse for several years. That's where I really got frustrated with really just trying to take care of my patients in a system that I felt like, did not support them. So I started trying to, make some kind of community changes through the health system I worked for, and just didn't really have any luck at that. So decided, I was going to have to build the experience myself. So started talking about that in Wichita, and frankly, I came up here to Kansas City to talk at Kaufman the first year. And when I came up here, it was just a total different experience as far as the support and, curiosity and things like that I saw here. So frankly, went back home and told my husband, I think we have to move to Kansas City to make this work. So that's what we did. We packed our 3 kids up and sold our house, and we're living in Kansas City within 60 days. So this is really where that was about 3.5 years ago. This is where I've, built my technology, found my team, found my people, just had, really a ton of support from this community. So it's been great.
Can you tell us a little bit about what ModRN Health does?
Yeah.
Because you're making headlines everywhere.
Yeah, oh, thanks. So really the thing that was really frustrating to me specifically was that I would spend so much time developing a relationship with the patient, really understanding, what their goals were and what motivated them. And once you do that, you're able to really make change and effect with the patient. And that was about the time that patient would fall out of my little siloed piece of the healthcare system. So that was really frustrating to me that I was kind of tethered to, this fragmented piece, this siloed piece of the health system. And really, I wanted to go with the patient. So that's kind of how it got started. So how that works today is with ModRN Health membership, every member actually has a nurse and a doctor that's dedicated to them. So they get to know them, they get to understand them, really consolidate everything that's going on with that person and really learn what matters to them so we can help make actionable change. And then the second piece of what we do is kind of huge too. So historically, when I was a nurse, I would be laying out what care plan or what health goals you should be, kind of striving towards. And we're very holistic in nursing. We're thinking about not just the diagnosis, but all of the other implications that might be around that diagnosis, with one very big blind spot, and that was how my people paid for their health care. So I often, might be recommending XYZ, and turns out, that person doesn't have access or maybe the means to do XYZ. And without me having that information, that patient leaves me and they end up, often just not doing anything or getting any care. And so if we can kind of understand how these people pay for their healthcare as well, then I can really work with them on something that makes sense for them. So it's a lot of, just to kind of tie that out, the way that works is once that employee has access to a dedicated nurse and doctor, We actually sit down with them on site at their place of employment the first time we meet with them. We just start to get to know them, find out how we can help them, and then we just start making changes. So half of that is the day-to-day healthcare needs. You know, I'm trying to deal with a chronic disease. I've got a rash, you know, and I'm on vacation, strep throat in the middle of the night, all those things. But also, just as importantly, we are coaching them on how to pay for that healthcare. So does it make more sense to use my health benefits? Does it make more sense to use a cash pay option? Are there other options out there that maybe I just don't know about? Maybe there's a community resource that you don't even know exists, and maybe you don't need to be spending money on your insurance. Maybe you can, you know, go over here and qualify for a resource. So we really say that we don't tell people what to do. We just want to break down the barriers and really give them an educated decision on what makes sense for them.
That's awesome. What small town are you from? You got to answer that one.
Douglas, Kansas.
Douglas, Kansas. And so you know, it's one of those things we always say, you know, when people are new to town, who is it that you're trying to meet? Really, it's just growing your brand so people are aware that they can work with you. And obviously you want to meet employers, but it is mind blowing when you cut out all the middlemen and you realize that 80–90% of medical costs is just middlemen. And if you were to pay in cash, what it would look like. And guess what? The doctor's actually getting more money when you're doing that. So it literally helps the physician and the patient, and you are on the future of healthcare. It's just so it's definitely a system to fight, because there's a lot of people with a lot of power that don't want the end user to realize, if you were to just go to a physician and haggle with cash, how open they are to it. You think that you can't do that, but you can.
Yes, and you're right. That absolutely puts more money in their pocket.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to talk about your wins, because when we get over to that question, you've been doing some really big things. Tiffany, we're going to switch over to you. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Thank you, Erin. I'm so glad CaRessa went first, because after the commercial, I was like, this is a real show. This is a real thing. I was so hyped. So yes, I came to Kansas City from Washington, D.C., and I stayed there a bit beyond college. I was into journalism, and I worked for different places like Black Entertainment Television and the Kennedy Center for the Kennedy Honors. And so I was just really plugged into like the social scene. But here's the thing, I really preferred to work backstage, you know, because that's where a lot of the power moves are being made. And so I loved being back there and being responsible for our guests or our celebrities, or however you like to deem them. So it was a really exciting opportunity. And when I came here, after being a teacher there, I came here, I taught for Kansas City Public Schools. And one of the things that segued me into what I do now is that I teamed up with Kansas City Police Department. Why? Because it was unfortunate with some of the police brutality that wasn't exactly happening in Kansas City, but elsewhere. But I wanted for the Kansas City Police Department officers to have conversations with students, so it could already be a de-escalation, so people wouldn't be heightened or feared when you came in contact with them, to know your rights. And so after working with the Kansas City Police Department with that event and having it so large and having it at Southeast High School with like an entire assembly, I was like, I can event plan. And I didn't even have to pay for the venue or the space. So I love being able to event plan. I was the secretary for the deputy superintendent and also the other superintendents. So we had events all year. And then I was like, I can't do it on my own. No, I can't do it on my own. No, I can't. Yes, I can. And I like went back and forth. And so in COVID, I did what a lot of people did, which is you start your own business and whatever happens, happens. And so even though we can't have events, I'm having so much fun finding out if we could have events, what all I could do. So right now I have 12 facilities from which we can choose from. And I love working with small businesses and nonprofits, because a lot of the facilities like Kauffman Foundation, if you're a nonprofit and your values align with theirs, it's free. And so I love working with different facilities, whether paid and unpaid. I work with 2 different caterers because you want to keep it simple. And so event planning is part of my title of EPOC. Now, EP stands for event planning, obviously, but I also do office organization because I used to be a secretary. Hey, why hire when you can outsource? For example, if I worked with Aaron right now, like from last night, honey, your background would be dazzled out according to how you would like it. It would be ready for today. And those kids, I think you're a mother, right?
I am of 3.
Oh yeah, honey. We would have those kids sitting with homework if they're homeschooled, or we would have them all taken care of while you ran this. So that's what I do, and that's what excites me. I like helping other people make their dreams come true. And what better than small businesses, because a lot of times they feel overwhelmed, and I come in and I know what I'm doing. And the last part of it is I would love to expand and offer classes on culture, like professional development and time management. I would love to do that too. But for right now, it's just event planning and office organizing. Thank you.
I got to ask, who's the one person backstage that you saw? There's got to be, maybe it was a series of people, or was there one aha moment and you're like, I want to help control and conduct and bring people together and get it done of what you do for your clients and your business. Was there one person in particular that sparked that in you?
Well, you know what? A lot of people would probably expect me to say when I worked for the award shows and music award shows, but really when I worked with superintendents, before they get on television, like helping with their makeup and making sure that, their collar and their jacket, everything is put together. That was equally as satisfying for me because that's their big moment too, and just being on Channel 9. So all of that made me feel like I'm really needed, and you want somebody that you can trust.
Did you work with our superintendent at Kansas City, Missouri?
Yes, Missouri. Yeah, I used to. Yeah.
And his name is, for the listeners?
That was Mark Bedell, but I worked more closely with his deputy superintendent, Dr. Shepard. And so I would do things. He would come to it. He would be our guest, but I worked more closely with her. And then they have other assistant superintendents who I work with as well.
I have a crush on that guy. He's a celebrity and he gets along with everyone. And Kansas City's super lucky to have that leadership in place. They're pretty dynamic rock stars.
Cool guy. Yeah.
He's a pretty good speaker too. I don't know if you've ever seen him speak, but he's a pretty good speaker too. I didn't know you have a crush on a lot of people.
Well, you have a crush on Wendy Reynolds, our CEO, who's amazing at Bank of Blue Valley. But Dr. Bedell, he's just like, you want to be like friends with him. He's so charismatic, but yet he's there for all of our kids. He's one of the first superintendents who's like, no, my kids are going to school, and we have so many great schools, and it's just kind of cool and exciting, and it takes someone special like he and his staff to really make it electrified, because we have a great school system.
I want to pull up this comment for you, Tiffany, but it is from Caroline Hammond, because I went and looked. She's a former guest. She's making big national headlines, but unfortunately she has her LinkedIn picture on private, so you're not going to see who it's from, but I do like the comment. Change your privacy, Caroline. Staying in your zone of genius and outsourcing to the experts is now my mantra for 2021. And this is something that I've learned the past 2 years, really, is outsource, outsource, outsource. Mm-hmm. Scott tells me that all the time. You don't have to hire full-time all the time, outsource. So I think you're a great decision to start something during COVID. I think you're right on track. Thank you for so much for coming on. I'm so excited to learn more. Deborah from Rourke is actually here too. So hi, Deborah. Let us know if you're over here in the comments. Deborah's doing big things too. You didn't get with her, Tiffany. She has a lot of events, so she would love to meet you, I'm sure. All right, Jeff, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
Oh, the classic COVID.
Jeff,
you're on mute.
You have yourself on mute.
I knew I was going to do that. So, Jeff Eckert, thanks for having me on. And mine has been just a long and winding road, honestly. I started off in Fortune 500 doing mergers and acquisitions and finance and analysis, things like that. That's what my education has been in. And then migrated into healthcare. And like CaRessa, we actually ran in the same circles a little bit. I came through St. Louis and then through Kentucky, and then took a job here as CFO of Mid-America Cardiology. And I did a little digging on you, and you were with Cardiovascular Consultants for a while as well.
Yeah.
And so we ran the same circles there. And so I was in healthcare for 20 some odd years, but when we did the deal to get him over to KU, Mid-America Cardiology, I started my own consulting company for about 10 years and had about a 5-state reach, over 100 clients that we helped in everything from startups to healthcare contracting, contract review and negotiation, whole 9 yards. And after a while, I did that mainly to let my kids grow and be at their recitals and be at their ball games and be able to coach them and everything. And then when they got into high school, it was a phone call that I got from KU to go back and run their pediatrics group for a while. And one thing led to another. And sort of as CaRessa was saying, it started off as the doctor and the patient and taking care of them. And it over 20 years started morphing into the insurance companies and all the litigation and all the other things that were happening. And so I started looking for, what else is satisfying my soul. And the old saying, a jack of all trades. I don't want to say I'm a master of none, but it's really getting in different spots. Like I taught for 20 years or so, and that was great. And did some other things. I got into sports officiating 15 years ago and started doing that. And recently wrote a book on that. But I really started.
Speaker.
What's that?
And speaking, author and speaker.
A little bit of that as well. And as I was doing some soul searching, I ran across Scott, honestly, and said, I'm trying to figure out, really what drives my passion. And all throughout healthcare, it was the nonprofit aspects of it that really sort of spurred me on to, to do what I like to do. And so, story short, I met the CEO of Catholic Charities 3 years ago, and we had a great conversation, and one thing led to another. And that's where I've been for the last 3 years, really migrating out of healthcare and into pure nonprofit with Catholic Charities of Kansas City and St. Joseph. And so we manage a 27 county diocesan area, all on the northwest side of Missouri. And we see anywhere, depending on how you count it, anywhere from 10,000 to 16,000 families that we serve. And it's really sort of funny for a smaller organization, just dollars wise, it is very, very complex, with over 20 programs, 50 different funding sources. We have, a welcome center that does emergency assistance. We have employment services, services, housing development, community housing. And recently we just received a $2 million donation from the owners of Creative Planning that allowed us to start up 2 food pantries. And we're in the process of setting that up as well, and really turning the corner. And it's just been a fun ride for the last 3 years, and really seeing all the people that you're helping. You have, as CaRessa knows, we used to have hands-on. We could see the results with our patients, but that sort of had gone away. Here with Catholic Charities, we see every single day the people that are coming into Catholic Charities, and you know their stories, and how you're helping them, and it's just it's a very unique situation. So that's a little bit about me and the long and winding road that has led me to Catholic Charities.
Before I ask you a question, I think it's crazy, and you talk about having a bank be a top 5 in Kansas City in culture. Aaron, do you want to highlight someone that just commented?
Yes. Wendy Reynolds is watching. Scott gets so geeked out. We're fortunate to have so many amazing people in our community, superintendents, podcast leaders like Aaron and Scott. Thanks, Wendy. All the leaders on this show today, so many people to have crushes on. Thank you, Wendy, so much for watching. I'm sure that she's so excited that all of you guys are on here. Jeff, I want to talk about first of all, I just saw a huge article today on Peter, right? And so they donated $2 million. So was that a connection you had made, or how did that happen? And how do you shift into nonprofit after all those major, that feels like all of a sudden now you're a dream for nonprofits is what it feels like, right? That you would really know the fundraising part because you've been in all those circles.
Yeah, I had nothing to do, honestly, with bringing the $2 million to us. That was Susan Walker and our CEO, Karen Knoll, that really had that relationship and brought that on board. As for me, even through healthcare, a lot of that was nonprofit healthcare. I actually started off at the Missouri Institute of Mental Health in St. Louis, which is one of the biggest mental health agencies in the state, part of the Department of Mental Health at the time. And that really gave me a sense of purpose there with, all the psychiatric patients and things that we had to deal with and all the research that was involved in it. Learned some scary things about myself along the way there with psychologists analyzing me every day at work, Anyway, so that was really a common thread throughout the whole thing. And so all I did was sort of migrate out of healthcare, but I kept the nonprofit portion of it. And the service portion of it and the mentorship aspects of it. And that's really, so it wasn't that great of a leap. It was just sort of focusing in on finding what really, what really made me want to get up in the morning and get to work.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for finding time to come on here today.
Yeah, I will say it. Erin all the time is name dropping with people she's meeting with nationally, but I was able to sit down for lunch today for 2 hours with Peter at his headquarters here in town. Got to hang out with him. But, again, it's when you look at Wendy Reynolds and when you look at Peter Maluk and you look at some of our large companies, it's the cultural aspect of Jeff. I know how you operate your organization. It's truly knowing everyone's name in your organization and just caring because they know, because you care about them, just like the children that when you are officiating and you're coaching them and helping them, you build that camaraderie where people want to work with you and they want to root for you. And I always joke in what I do every day, if I can go to a company where I walk around with a person like a Jeff or a Peter or a Wendy and everyone's name, I know it's already going to be a good company. And I'm not really financially worried about it. And so I just think it's unique that, Wendy tunes into the shows like this, but yet folks like Peter Maluk are, so in tune with everything that they're doing. And I just think it's wildly impressive.
I went to lunch with Peter today. No big deal.
You're like, oh, Les Brown, just talking to, top 3 greatest speaker of all time. Quentin Lucas called me to borrow my media equipment. So, I gotta get some name dropping in there.
Get in there. I want to go to lunch with Peter. Peter, if you're watching, I want to go to lunch with you. All right, shameless plug. Nick, unmute yourself. Who are you? What do you do and how do you get here?
God, how good is the food at Creative Planning's headquarters, though? It's really
phenomenal.
Good. Yeah, it's catered in every day. They have like a restaurant in their lobby. It's incredible.
$6.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how I wanted to start by saying how awesome the food was. Nick, I appreciate you both having me on. So Nick Giuliani, I currently work with Dynamic Logistics out of Overland Park. So when everyone else was talking in my brain, I'm like, oh my God, I've been in Kansas City for 12 years almost. So I got up here in July of 2009. I spent about an hour and 40 minutes in the city before I decided to move up here. My brother introduced me to one of the first 5 people over at Freight Quote. And in 2009, anything I could find with a salary, commissions, and benefits, I was like, I got to take a job. And so before I got back home after the 4-hour drive to St. Louis, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to move there. I told my parents when I got home, I'm moving to Kansas City, and I've been up here ever since. I've spent almost all but about 10 months of my career in logistics and supply chain. The last 6 have been focused around softwares, either on the parcel side, and now I'm back on the freight side after about 5 years with Freight Quote and Ryan Transportation. So it's been a long ride. I can't believe I've been here this long, but I absolutely love Kansas City and wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
So Nick, 2 things. One thing for anyone watching, if you ever want to figure out a compensation plan to keep your best performers around, talk to Nick, because a lot of people have tried hiring him, but he has a place that keeps them very happy. And I think it's really smart, especially when people are trying to design plans. How do you keep the best folks around? But secondly, Nick, I think of yourself much like the other panelists on the show is you have a servant mentality. You're always helping others. And so one big misconception about the show is that we're always trying to pull only people from sports or people that are just big CEOs. And what we do for like this panel is we just get popular people that know a lot of people like you all, because you're the best guest, because all your friends tune in and then everyone learns more about your show. I think you've built your brand from being a servant mentality of always helping others, because there's very few folks that need to deploy a TMS software system that are in Kansas City. You work with larger organizations, but yet you're helping a lot of variety of people. Where does that come from? Why do you always want to serve and help others, and how has that benefited you?
Yeah, I think to the first part of that, I think, I've been very lucky within Dynamic Logistics. And it's not just me. I think, our CEO has made a point that no matter what you do within this organization, you're going to be compensated for going above and beyond. So our accounting teams, our teams, everybody gets rewarded for the work that they do each and every day beyond their salary. I think when they look at compensation, it's all about, we got to keep these people here. It takes a long time to do what we do. Our sales cycle is sometimes 14, 18, even 24 months at times. So they have to, put us in a situation where once we do get these onboarded and we are managing the client, through our TMS system, that we are rewarded for life. So I can say nothing about the culture that we have built at Dynamic. It is one of the hardest working, but also loves to have fun cultures I've been around. So I'm very, very thankful to be a part of Dynamic Logistic. On the flip side, with your second question, because it's kind of to your point, my territory is an entire continent. So I can call anybody in North America. So when I got to my role where I am, both previous and where I'm at now, anytime that I met somebody, when I was younger, I felt like networking was, what can this person do for me? And as I was lucky enough to have a mentor, Brett Parsons, I think he's actually listening. We met at Veriship, where I worked previously. And from his standpoint, he helped me so much understand that when you meet somebody, it's about what can you do for that person, whether it's an introduction, whether it's just having coffee with somebody and talking about, their job, their life, whatever it might be. So any interaction that I take, coffees, lunches, networking events, wherever it might be, I want to go above and beyond and do whatever I can to help that person. And my whole goal of those interactions is to learn as much about that person and what they're trying to accomplish in life, what their goals are, what they're passionate about. And then if I can help, great. If maybe it's not me, but I can introduce them to someone, that's what I'm looking to get out of those interactions. And if it all comes back and they help me at some point, that's great. But, my whole focus is around helping others inside those networking opportunities that hopefully we're getting back to face-to-faces soon. I look forward to that. I haven't been to an event in a long time, so I'm very excited that hopefully we can get back to normal here in the next couple of months.
Well, you will be going for a Top Gun Kansas City meeting to see Miss Deborah for a little sip and print at her location. She has a business where she prints shirts, and she's a local entrepreneur that has been on this show that I met through Aaron. So we'll be having some fun, and maybe not margaritas, but maybe some Coronas. That's it. Margaritas sounds like a lot of work.
Very, very excited about getting the Top Gun shirt. Very excited. I'm going to wear it all the time.
You can get margaritas in a can. I can tell you how.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm an idiot. You can.
Yeah, you totally can. Well, I love that Brett Parsons is your mentor. He's one of my favorite people. So, Brett, if you're watching, say hello. And Deborah says, yeah, she's ready.
Great location, right off the highway on I-35. Get to know her.
All right, I want to get through. We're just going to take a couple minutes each answering this next question, but I hate cutting this question, so we're going to do it today because it's one of my favorite questions. We know this year's been tough for everybody. I can't even believe we're about to say this past year and a half, right? But right now we're still saying a year. We know this past year has been tough for everybody, but our audience loves to hear about your wins. So we want you to brag on yourself. We're going to start with you, CaRessa. What is a win you've had this past year during all this craziness?
Oh man, well we've been really blessed to have lots of wins this year, actually. So kind of just the two probably that I'm the proudest of with my team. So the first one would be we did just sign a 2-year contract with the Department of Defense. So we are part of a really big initiative to really figure out how to get expertise scaled virtually in the event of a catastrophic event. So, the focus this year was obviously the pandemic, But I know that, everyone was focused on getting ventilators in places. And it was like, even if we have 1 million ventilators, if we don't have the ICU expertise to be able to manage those ventilators, it doesn't really matter. So that initiative caused us to, or not caused us, but we got to hire 55 nurses in a 30-day period to be able to scale. So essentially, we're supporting hospitals where maybe the nurses and staff there are not used to handling that level of acuity of a patient. But now they've kind of got an on-demand person to be maybe across the country, but really with them all day, helping them understand how to take care of those patients best. So that is extremely exciting. And, it's, again, focused on catastrophic events. So hurricanes, fires, we're already laying out the roadmap for all kinds of those things. So I feel bad saying those things with a big smile on my face.
No, people love it. And people want to know. There's still lots of good stuff going on. And I think that it gets people to understand that. Like when you're I don't know if you guys have ever worked in sales, Nick, I know you have, but CaRessa, Tiffany, I don't know if you guys have, but for me, when I was a salesperson, if you had like a rough day, but then you saw other people were selling, it would feel like just no one was going to buy. But if other people started selling, then it got you back up like, okay, I just need to keep calling. So I think people love to hear that. And the Department of Defense, no big deal. That's huge.
It's awesome. So really quickly, I'm going to say the other one, and it's just because this is kind of our core business win. So when we first went to market, we were able to help the employees get better healthcare and save money and make better decisions. But we weren't helping the employer save money, particularly because we were at the beginning like a bolt-on to an existing plan. So the employer was spending more money, we're saving for the employee. This last year, we were able to do a pilot with a manufacturing company where a new reinsurance company that's actually backed by Google that's rolled out this last year came in and did analytics and watched us do our work with this manufacturing company. And at the end of that, they recognized what changes and how much we were able to affect the employees. So they actually came back with an 18% discount on the overall plan, including our price. So that's a huge win for us because we're now able to go out and not only help them at the employee level, but we're actually getting that employer credit for this, for giving access to this in the front end. So,
wow, pretty impressive. Well, yeah, it sounds like you're having an okay.
The Department of Defense, but
No, I'm very humbled by that. It is a big deal, and I'm very, we're really excited about it.
Well, I am impressed and congratulations. I love watching your stuff. I've been watching you. I've kind of been a stalker, but I have been watching you, and I'm very, very impressed. All right, Tiffany, what is a win that you have had this past year?
Oh, that was easy to think of. Working for Cerner. I work for Cerner part-time. It's just a little company. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but we do a couple of things like give out thousands of vaccines, even though we're not a hospital. So, we're doing pretty good for ourselves. And the part-time gives me a lot of flexibility. But one thing that I notice about myself is I love to solve a current issue. So if I talk to you about, injustices, then now I want to talk about vaccinations. It's not that other things don't matter, but how can I contribute on such a timely issue? So I like getting calls from people and having empathy for them and telling them how they can take care of themselves and their loved ones. And so working for Cerner has been an awesome, and they care about our health. I've been working from home, never met anybody from Cerner, but it's still a very strong community. I know that I can text them and call anybody at any time. So that was a wonderful plus for me.
So you started during the pandemic with Cerner?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Wow. So you haven't met, I know 1 million people from Cerner. So if you want friends, just let me know. I'll introduce you. Yeah. Like 1 of every 5 people works for Cerner in Kansas City, right?
Mm-hmm.
At some point. Jeff, what is a win that you've had?
Wow. We talked about Catholic Charities. I got to mention them first. With the pandemic, most people will focus on the negatives that have happened in that past year. And really it's what you look at. And Catholic Charities has been blessed in that we've gotten more government funding for like the CARES program and serving more veterans, more homeless. We've actually benefited from COVID. We've been able to serve more people due to more donations coming in from people that are concerned, and they know people are going to be evicted from their homes, and so we want to support, help paying rent and things of that nature. So, and we talked about the pantry donation, being able to open up a pantry in the South and one up in St. Joe. Those are big wins for the organization that I work for, and I'm proud to, not that I brought in the money, but I'm proud to be able to manage that and get that to a place where it helps the most people. On a personal level, I mentioned a while back that about 15 years ago, my kids were in high school, and I decided, well, what am I going to do now? I'm done coaching them. Okay, I'll be an official and just get yelled at all day long, right? So that journey has led me to a spot where 15 years later, doing varsity basketball and volleyball, we all sit around after the games and we talk about the funny things that have happened during the game, or not so funny, if you will, like a bench clearing brawl that had happened or things like that. And
were they in kindergarten?
What's that?
Was the bench clearing brawl a bunch of kindergartners, or was it high school?
It was high school girls.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That one myself. But anyway, the funny part about it is we sit around and we all say, yeah, I'm going to write a book about that. I'm going to write a book about that. Well, eventually I said, I'm going to write a book about that. And last year during the pandemic, because we're at home,
show it.
It's right here. It's called Sportsmanship. Go viral with it. I had a boring title, and my wife actually said, you need to get hip here and do the hashtag thing. And so that's what we came up with. And basically it's how you can model great behavior, create positive change, and transform amateur sports culture. And it's really a book that's unique in the fact that it's written from an official standpoint. And so, there's a lot of sportsmanship books out there, but we talk about, what we're seeing with our youth and what that's turning them into. And the bottom line is 70% of athletes quit their sports by the time they're 13 years old. And so we have to ask, that's over 2 million kids a year that are quitting what they love, that can develop their personalities and their work ethic and things of that nature. And so we talk about what are we doing as parents, fans, coaches that are creating that environment, and how to fix it. And the good news is it just takes one, and in your circle of influence, you can create positive change that will last a lifetime. And we talk about how to do that. And there's a section of the book that is really just fun stories, 15 stories of good and bad sportsmanship that'll make you laugh, that'll make you cringe. Then there's also aspects of humility and things of how do you instill that in kids so that they grow in the right way and still win championships and still have fun. So it's unique in that standpoint. And it was a labor of love. Never meant to make millions. I'm waiting for Oprah to call me yet, but that
in the book club. Is it on Amazon?
It is. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And you can go you go on Amazon and search my name. It'll pop up, or you can actually, shameless plug, you can go to getbook.at/sportsmanship. Nobody will remember that, but that's another way to do it. But yeah,
they can rewind this and watch it. Well, congratulations. I feel like the people that took advantage and wrote a book, Scott and I know a few people that did that. They really capitalized on COVID.
Yeah, and then if people buy your book, will you come speak at no cost?
I will do whatever I can do to help foster good sportsmanship. It's it's one of those things that if I was semi-retired or retired, my brain is filled with places I'd like to go and do. But absolutely, I'd be happy to go out there and spread the word. And it's the cool part about it is we don't need 1,000 people to make this change. It's just each one of us on this panel with little things. You'd be surprised. And at the end of the book, I talk about 9 things you can do to transform the culture. And after you read it, you're going to think, well, so I hope people like it. And like I said, it was a labor of love. My goal was just to recoup the cost of my editor. That's breaking.
Editors also did great during COVID. I'm hearing from my position. Well, I'm excited to read it. Nick, what is a win that you've had during COVID?
So I am been very fortunate as well. Luckily, our business was deemed essential, and so one thing from a business standpoint, a couple of things I think from a dynamic standpoint that I'm most proud of is we didn't have to. We grew as a business. We hired, which was a little bit unique in the the challenging time that was 2020. But the coolest thing was we were actually named best place to work through Ingram's magazine, and that was great. I think the fastest growing this and 300%, that is awesome. But if the people don't enjoy coming to work every day, it's kind of an irrelevant thing. So the fact that we're able to build that culture and grow at the same time was pretty exciting for 2020. And just personally, from my own standpoint, I was lucky enough to have my best year in 2020. So that was pretty exciting from a sales standpoint. Was not expecting it, but had a couple of big deals go through. So that was very exciting. I was very blessed and very lucky to have that happen. So.
Nice. You're so humble. You're like, my best year in 2020 during a pandemic. I'm an awesome salesperson.
And then one quick thing just to educate our audience. So a TMS is what? And then typically, how long would it take to implement that? Like get it set up and get a company rolling? And how fast do you do it? Does your company do it? So, why would you buy one and how quickly can you do it compared to your competition?
And also your mentor.
Yeah, I know. I saw. That's exciting. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it. So TMS stands for Transportation Management Software. For whatever reason, every department within a company was given software except for shipping logistics. They were told, use an Excel spreadsheet, here's a file folder, and here's your phone. You're supposed to manage, the third to fifth most expensive, expense on the ledger with spreadsheets. So we were lucky enough that we've been able to find a niche in the small to medium-sized manufacturers that don't always believe they have the capital to purchase the TMS. So we are taking that out to that market and allowing them the ability to manage their day-to-day shipping and logistics through a platform and a software to make their lives more efficient, provide more visibility, control, and then also provide back-end analytics so they know exactly what's going on day in and day out. They're not living inside a CSV report. So the typical implementation time for most of our competitors ranges in the 6 to 8 to 12 months. The way that we're partnered with our TMS provider, it's about 8 to 10 weeks. So we can get them up and running a lot faster, a lot less work from IT. Because most companies' IT doesn't just sit around twiddling their thumbs. They're extremely busy. So we're able to eliminate a lot of the time that they need to spend getting that integration done and allowing logistics to actually start managing through our system quicker than most of our competitors.
Wow. Yeah, you guys are on every list lately, so I knew you guys were doing big things over there. All right, I want to jump over here to the comments really quick. Brett said also great lineup today. Ash said great lineup. And then I'm going to get on my people. Cheryl Cooper, take your privacy settings off. Cheryl Cooper is over at, I guess, T-Mobile now, and she's coming on the show soon. But great panel. She loves to write.
Cheryl is writing a book as well. She's phenomenal. Cheryl, don't kick me if you've already written it, but we'll make sure to check out your profile.
I don't think it's all the way out yet, but you have to take your privacy settings off, Cheryl and Carol. Cheryl and Carol, take your privacy settings off. All right, we've got to jump into Wendy's question real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to do a million things here. We've got about 3 minutes for each of you guys to answer this question, okay?
So do 2 minutes.
What, 3 minutes? If you want to get your icebreaker, that is. So I want to get to Wendy's question, and I'm going to play it for you, and then CaRessa will just jump into your answer, okay?
Sure.
Here we go.
Describe your rationale when making a big financial decision. How do you determine what products or services to invest in?
You're going to start with the startup on that one, huh? So for us, we're a startup, we're fluid. It has to make sense. Does it match our mission? What is the actual market telling us? We always have to be mindful of cash flow. So, anything that's going to be more of a 90-day or out kind of win for us, or, that's probably only going to be about 10% of my time. Everything else has got to be a quick win just to keep sustainability going. So that's kind of how we make decisions. And I think that we have to make sure, for us, that we say no to what we say no to, I think is just as important, if not more important than what we say yes to.
What a great answer. And the 90-day out, that's a great tip. If you are in startup world or thinking about starting, write that one down. Tiffany, how about you?
Well, you know what? At first, I was thinking about myself, but then I was like, no. When I used to work for the school district, I would rather answer on behalf of the taxpayers' money, and that however you can cut corners, then do that, because you're still responsible for their money, and you want to have such integrity with it. So when it comes to investing, I would say most of our money was investing in people and not necessarily products or things. And that taught me that that's what you should do for sustainability and for retention and all those other words I can't think of right now.
I love it. Invest in people. Use your money to invest in people. Ooh, what a good tip. All right, Jeff. Jeff, you're muted.
Ooh, you're on mute.
We forgive you.
My Lord. All right. Well, hey, in the nonprofit world, we need sustainability, right? So if we're looking for social enterprises and things like that, we're looking for options that will extend 3 to 5, 10 years, whatever the case may be. And once you get the analytics, you're always doing the book, the cash flow type of analysis that everybody does. But CaRessa sort of took it right off the top by saying, we have a quick delete button. And does it match our mission? And does it match our vision? And if the answer to that is no, then we check it off the list and go right down. It might be great for a for-profit, but it maybe not for a nonprofit social service agency. So really, that's what it is. It's the quick delete, get them off the table, and then do the analytics, and hopefully it'll show sustainability over quite a few number of years, and that's what we look for.
What's the saying again that you just said?
Oh, we just have a quick delete button.
But does it match our? Can you say that again?
It does. If it doesn't match our mission and vision, then basically we don't even get to the analytics part of it. It's really just if it doesn't match that, it might be good for a for-profit, but it won't be good for this nonprofit social service agency. And so it's not to say it's a bad deal. It's just not right for us.
Just not a good fit. I love that. Well, I think that can be used for profit too, right? Because I think sometimes if you know where you're going and you can cut everything out that doesn't match that would be great for for-profit too. So that's why I wanted you to repeat it. I liked it.
Exactly. I know it, and it's. I think CaRessa said it well. If you make that decision to say no quickly, then you don't get paralysis by analysis. And I think that's important for any type of business.
I like it. All right, Nick, how about you?
Yeah, when I first started, everything was hyper growth mode. So we invested in a lot of software to create more opportunities, create more clients. And I've seen this shift over the last year where we've really put a focus around client success and account management. Project management during the actual implementation of the client has been a huge plus for us lately. And I think we've looked at it and said, yeah, we can bring on all the clients we have and we can hire to those positions. But if we're not managing our current clients and we're not putting them in a position where they feel like they're getting what was promised to them during the actual sales cycle implementation, we're going to be in trouble. So we have hired 2 client success account management, and it's been really exciting to see the transition from just, they're moving their shipping and freight through our system to we are more of a true partner, and we are the expert in that room, and we're helping their business grow. So that's really fun while we're still focusing on, hyper growth through some of our softwares we use on the, the sales side. But that's kind of where we've been at. Everything falls back to a new kind of 2021 has been client success and client benchmarking has kind of been our big motto for this year so far.
Again, investing in people in the partnership. So Ash says great tips. Deborah says she loves to see people winning. So thank you all for commenting. All right, Scott, you know what type of show it is, what time of the show it is, don't you?
Shotgun White Claw time?
Yes, shotgun White Claw time.
Oh, drinks with leaders.
So
Okay.
drinks with leaders. We got to get back to the drinking part of this show, right?
Next time to the bourbon, yeah.
Your favorite turn. I want to highly encourage the audience to play along today, because when they play along, we get some really fun answers. But it is your icebreaker time. Everybody gets 60 seconds to answer whatever crazy question Scott comes up with. Because if you've ever been to an event with Scott, you have to do an icebreaker, whether you're there for just that 3-person happy hour or 150 people event. Remember those? So Scott, what is your icebreaker today?
if you ever do a public speaker and you have 150 people in the audience, an icebreaker is a bad idea, and you'll get yelled at by Joe Goldberg of like, hey man, you just ate into half my presentation. So CaRessa, what is a fashion faux pas you had in high school? And then we will go to Tiffany. So one thing that you're like, man, I should not have bleached my tips, or I really shouldn't have had a popped collar, or I shouldn't have worn that outfit. What was a fashion faux pas that you're probably embarrassed about if your kids were to see it?
Well, all of my stuff is kind of coming back around actually right now. So I have a teenage daughter and she thinks I was pretty awesome, except for the picture she found of me wearing overalls.
Oh yeah, listen to a little Nirvana, get the grunge rock going.
In your pictures, I did overalls, CaRessa. I get it.
I thought I was looking pretty awesome, so I still think I was.
Tiffany, what's a fashion faux pas that you'd be a little embarrassed of if someone saw it? Or proud of? Both.
You know what? Yeah, it's like 50-50. So dyeing my hair blonde, I just wish I had gone to a real beautician. I tried to do it myself with the little highlights, and my hair was fried. I had to shave it all off because, I also had to take a swim class, and that mixed with chlorine, it was just horrible. So I had to shave it all the way off and have it grow back in like a fro. So yeah, that fashion faux pas was doing your own hair.
You have good cheekbones, though. Most women could not pull off shaving off their head, so I'm impressed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, what's one thing you look back at high school and you're like, I think I was pretty awesome, but I don't know if it was that cool.
Muted, so hey, I can answer.
Nope,
this.
you're not muted. Yep.
I went to school in the 70s, right? So I had massive bell-bottom jeans that were bigger than like your shoes. And I thought they were the coolest thing ever until I found out like I was the only guy wearing them. And then it was like, oh my God. so that's it. And there are a couple pictures of me out there. I try to bury them every time I see them, but yeah, that's probably it.
Nick, what is one thing you're like, man, that was cool, but I'm kind of embarrassed?
I'm honestly going to go with everything I wore in high school because I can't remember anything that I wore in high school. I feel like it was just straight, like, I'm going to wear sweatpants and sweatshirts Monday through Friday to class, and just not a lot of effort, I feel like, on my part to have any kind of fashion sense at all. So I'm going to say it all because my wife will still take credit for me understanding what looks good and what doesn't. So I'm going to say anything up until meeting her. I didn't know what clothes or what looked good. So.
Well, you just won some brownie points.
Yeah. So Aaron, what was one thing that you regret / you're really proud of that you wore in high school?
So high school wasn't, I've got something better. I think I was 21 or 22. And I did that Christina Aguilera hairdo where I had the bleach blonde, which if you see my ivory skin, bleach blonde is definitely not my color, with the black extensions underneath, like I was on the Dirty video. And I did think it was cool. I thought it was really cool. But my children have recently found pictures in our move and they do not think it's cool at all. And they just said that I was lucky that there was no such thing as social media back then.
What did you do with your eyebrows?
You're also lucky.
What?
What did you do with your eyebrows? Because
I just left them. It was fine. Totally fine. It was terrible.
I may or may not have done that also, Aaron.
But I will tell you, I had a boyfriend in the NBA and he thought it was cool. And that's all I was worried about back then. So I told my kids that they just need to come to me when they actually think they're cool and I'll let them know.
Exactly.
So, how about you, Scott? I can't imagine your fashion.
I always say that was so, we used to joke around with a lot of buddies living in Dallas, be like, oh, it's so Dow. Because you're in Dallas,
I lived
right?
in Dallas then. I lived in Dallas.
Yeah, it was so Dow.
Yes, it was. What was your faux pas?
So I had a math teacher. She would call me Chip. I never realized what that meant until later in life. She was making fun of me because I was the idiot that wore a double popped collar. She'd be like, what's up, Chip? And I was like, oh, what is she talking about? And then I realized I was such a loser. And, but, I avoided the bleach tips. That was really big. Never did that. But, I was the guy that had a double popped collar, which is really pathetic.
Oh, I wish you would have done the double bleach tips. I would have made it my mission to find those.
You had to like, it wasn't not like, I was lucky my parent, but that like, it required money to go to like my parents weren't spending more than $8 on a haircut. And so I just couldn't get, I think I would have done it if I could have.
So Brett says he threw away all his tank tops after college, but that was a big mistake. Live and learn. So I love that, Brett.
Tank tops are coming back.
The whole 90s is coming back too. Like if you go on TikTok, I actually have a podcast, a daily podcast, and I think it was either today or tomorrow I do a podcast about if you're trying to get Gen Z, just start doing everything you did in the 90s and you'll catch their attention. So CaRessa was right on board with that. All right. Well, one more quick reminder. Next week, right before our show, jump on the Optimizing Your AP Strategy webinar with Bank of Blue Valley. Thank you all so much for coming on. We really, truly appreciate it. Go connect in over here with all of our guests. They are all tagged over here on the show post, so you can start following them and watching the awesome things we're doing. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks again, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Wendy Reynolds.